If you're thinking about moving to Mexico, you might be worried about major medical care. So say, for instance, you get into a car accident, or maybe you're out snorkeling and one of these guys comes for you, or maybe you're in your kitchen and you get a really serious cut like this woman, or maybe you get whatever is happening to this guy. You're going to need to go to a hospital. So in Mexico, you can go to a local pharmacy, usually for very simple medical procedures. Say you've got a small cut or you've got the flu, things like that. But if you need to get into like the real hospital medical system, what does that look like? Today I have someone with me, Matthew Donnelly, who actually moved into Mexico for cancer treatment specifically because it was so expensive in the US. So Matthew is going to tell us about his experience going through the medical system in Mexico. So thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story, Matthew. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers?
I am a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed right at the beginning of 2022. And at the beginning of 2022, right after I found out that I had COVID, I went to the doctor and found out that I had throat cancer. So I was very concerned because when I started calling doctors around the Denver area, which is where I live, the prices were going to be way more than my limited health insurance was going to be able to afford to give me. So I started looking in a place where I had already been for medical care for my wife, which was Cabo San Lucas. And I went to ear, nose, and throat specialist in Cabo San Lucas, and I was given a much better prognosis, and I started treatments in Cabo. So that's the beginning of my story, at least.
Great. Thank you. Actually, maybe I can get you to scoot over a little bit to your right because I'm about to cut you off with the way I'm changing the screen up on us. Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing your story, like I mentioned. And I've heard your story, and that's why I wanted to have you on and have you share your story because there's so much there's so many great stories that I hear about medical care, like major medical care like this in Mexico. And this is just making it real for people in hearing someone directly say, what was the cost difference? What was the care level difference? What was, the expectations and how the doctors treated you and how often you were with a doctor versus a tech, things like that. So we're going to go through a bunch of things. This is your personal experience, so this is not necessarily everyone, but let's start out. You went to Cabo. So you had mentioned before that your wife had some treatment in Cabo. And so you said, well, first things first, how did you find a doctor to even start with, to say even like when you were looking for your wife, there's someone who's like, well, something I've got, I need to get some medical treatment in Mexico. What does the process even look like? Because in the US, we all have, insurance theoretically, and you go to your insurance and they tell you
theoretically,
which doctors are allowed and which doctors aren't and things like that. So let's talk Mexico, how you found someone.
Well, I just started internet research on doctors in Cabo. And since it was still like the tail end of major COVID times, especially in Mexico, a lot of people are still masking there and everything. Mm-hmm. They were doing a lot of Zoom video treatments. So I looked up dermatologists in Cabo because my wife had some basal cell skin cancers she needed to get rid of. So we had a Zoom treatment with a doctor in Cabo, and their Zoom doctors are it's a $50 consultation, mm-hmm. Pretty much the same as all the doctor fees were in person when I was there. So the $50 consultation, he was like, yeah, we can take care of that. Come to Cabo. We set up a time. We went down to there's a little hospital area in between San Jose del Cabo and Cabo San Lucas. Mm-hmm. And we met these, our dermatologist. He had a plastic surgeon on site. he had a I keep forgetting the name of it. The guy who does the tissue samples to check them for cancer. What
pathologist or something?
Oh yeah, pathologist.
There we go.
Yeah, so we had a dermatologist, a pathologist, and a plastic surgeon on site, and the three of them worked on my wife all day. At the end of the day, I pulled out $10,000 in cash, and we just started divvying it up amongst the guys in the operating room. But we were very happy with the care. Some of the most expensive part of the treatment after that was just getting her stitches removed, which had to be done here we did that at an urgent care here in Denver. Mm-hmm. But, she's all healed up from all of that. And we had a very good experience with that and the professionalism, not to mention all of the doctors, including my oncologist to this day, have given me their telephone numbers. I can call them directly or text with them directly. And so the personalization of the service was outstanding, I thought. Mm-hmm. And then, so we got her treated. So as soon as I found out, I had a sample taken here in Denver at an ENT. And as soon as I found out that I had this squamous cell throat cancer, that's when I went straight back to Cabo and found an ENT. I asked that dermatologist, can you refer another doctor for me? And he's like, the guy across the hall for me, he's great, Dr. Kent, or I can't tell you the names right now, but
yeah, that's okay. So just real quick, do you remember what it cost to get the diagnosis in the United States by any chance? Just because without insurance to be able to go into an ENT is probably not cheap.
Well, the ENT, those office visits are $150.
Okay.
And then she's like, we're going to have to take a sample from your throat. When I got the sample back from the biopsy, we got a bill along with that for $1,800. And that was just the biopsy sample, which is actually more expensive than my first chemo treatment in Cabo.
Yes. So, and you talked a little bit about when we met each other in person down in Cabo, or sorry, in La Paz, and now we're both back in the United States. But you talked to some folks there about like a cancer treatment plan in the United States. Like, what was this going to set you back if you did it in the United States? Is that right? Or am I getting things out of order a little bit?
Well, it was after I did 2 rounds of chemotherapy in Cabo. And the doctor in Cabo was like, well, you're going to have to go to La Paz and stay there for 2 months and do daily radiation treatments. At the time, I was so resistant to moving away from my family and my kids. I was like, I am not moving to some strange city by myself. And I have got to find another way here in Denver. So I started calling all the cancer doctors in Denver and asking about radiation treatments. And after I got somebody to talk to me, they basically told me, you can do radiation here, of course, but we're going to need to put together a radiation plan for you. And I was like, well, how much is that going to cost me? And they said, well, it's going to cost you in the neighborhood of $70,000.
Wow.
And at that point, I was packing my bags for La Paz.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, this might be a good time to talk about the fun side of getting medical treatment in Mexico, because your wife joined you in Cabo and also La Paz for part of your treatment. So talk about what your days looked like while you were going through some of these treatments that you had to be in Mexico for.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you personally, because your videos gave me an introduction to La Paz that I wouldn't have had before. And, meeting up with all those really cool Canadians at
I got some in the middle between us here. I see Gert. Is that Brian?
All right. That's Robert and Marianne.
Oh yeah, Robert and Marianne. Okay, they're Canadians. Yep.
Yep. And then
Gert in the back. It looks like
it's not Gert. It's Gord.
Oh, Gord. Thank you. Sorry.
Short for Gordon. Yeah.
Yes.
But those three were instrumental, especially Gord. He was instrumental in talking to me about the crappy healthcare system that we in America have to deal with. But they were, wonderful Canadians. I know you have a couple other Canadians that I hooked up with, Andy and Dorothy. They were part of your meetup crew, and I hung out with those guys a few times. But so basically, when I got to La Paz, I wasn't alone. Because I
might be your wife.
Yeah, that was when we first got down there. She helped me get settled. That was at Bismarckcito, the lobster place.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was before I knew about the really good restaurants in La Paz.
So essentially she came and kind of, got you settled in for a 2-month life in La Paz, away from your children, away from your family, and, probably pretty scary because you're going through cancer treatment. And thank you for giving me, some kudos for those connections. But I remember, just happening down to La Paz, and you were always out with a big group of people. So you definitely created a lot of connections. Being that you were living in the city of La Paz and I'm out in the suburbs, I don't have as many connections. I feel like a lot of people who live in the city, a lot of gringos, just really created tight-knit group.
Oh, yeah. Well, I only had one other person that really got me connected. And that was that Captain Wayne guy that sings on Friday nights at Estrella Del Mar.
Yep.
Well, the first time I went into Estrella, it was the mid-afternoon. He was sitting at the bar. We struck up a conversation, and the next thing you know, he's introducing me to all the sailors down at Marina La Paz, and they're called Club Cruceros, and they're also a Facebook group. But they were, I met up with all those sailor people, and I met some of the most interesting world travelers. And I had such a good time with all of those people. I met a couple from Switzerland, and we go out shooting pool at night. But yeah, like what you were asking a little while ago, what my days looked like. So I arranged it with my doctor that I could get my radiation therapy, which takes about 15 minutes at the most. I got my radiation therapy at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. And by 8:15, I was getting dropped off for coffee either at 12:40 or at Club Cruceros. So, I would go back and forth between the two because I like both of those places so much. So, and I lived in 4 different Airbnbs while I was there because I would get sick of them after a week or two. So sometimes I would live by the cathedral. Sometimes I would live down closer on Francisco Madero, down by the skate park,
Yep. But, so nice. So you essentially got to experience different parts of the city that, you weren't heading out to Centenario, because then you would have had to get into the doctor. So you were able to get into the doctor. How did you get to the doctor? I mean, it sounds like you might not have been walking distance all the time.
That's another Brighton West kudo that I have to throw out there because of your video about in-driver. I was getting in-drivers every day to take me to the hospital. And
InDriver, for those who don't know, is an app on your phone, kind of like Uber, but it's more local and
and then you would throw out an offer, like the hospital is across town. So I would throw out an offer for 60 pesos, and then they would counter it with 80 pesos. And I would always give 100 pesos for the trip anyway, because I like to, Well, I like to give those guys tips. I know that gas is expensive and everything else, but
so we're talking $3, $4, $5 here to get across town.
Yeah, and well, you know, on about the third or fourth in-driver trip, I got a woman who was in her mid-40s with a family, and she was asking me questions about why I was going to the doctor, and I told her about the cancer and stuff. And then she was, you know, doing the prayers for me and everything. And I thought, I really like this lady. She really seems to care. So her name was Nohemi. If you ever get her as your driver, she's wonderful. She doesn't speak a lick of English though. So the other thing is, you know, between the running of the stop signs and the Google Translate going back and forth between the driver and the person in the back seat, you really feel like you're putting your life in someone's hands.
Yes. Yes. But she kind of became your personal driver then.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was beneficial for both of us. I was giving 200 pesos a day for round trips to the doctor.
Yep.
And that's, you know, that's $10, but in American dollars, that same Uber ride would have been $30 each way, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe more like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to go to the airport tomorrow, and I'm not looking forward to the Uber fee to get there. But
are you going back to La Paz?
I am going to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, Lake Chapala, Querétaro, Mexico City, La Paz. So I'm doing a whole round trip. So this channel is going to get some really interesting content soon. Yes.
You know,
when this video is going to come out, if it's going to come out before or after some of that content, but yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. So, you don't speak Spanish. And so what about medical care? How was that working with doctors?
Well, the one thing I can tell you about doctors in La Paz is most of them were educated outside of the country. Many in Canada, you know, they all have some English, you know, and my oncologist there, the radiation oncologist, she spoke pretty good English. And my other oncologist in Cabo spoke, you know, exquisite English. So I didn't have any problems with communicating with the doctors. The orderlies, like the guy that would strap me down to the table every day, he didn't speak any English at all. The only thing I really learned from him was listo, because listo means ready. For those of you who don't know. So when he takes off the straps and he says listo, that means you're done and you can go.
Perfect. Actually, we've got a little video of him. Thank you for sharing all of this, by the way. And for those of you who like YouTube videos, Matthew does have some YouTube videos of his experience. I'll share that too down below in the description. But let's look at so you can see here, this is not equipment that was made back in the 60s or something, which is kind of what I expected. This is new stuff. This is state of the art. You're not going to experience worse care. Well, this is where you get the listo.
Want to say anything?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when you showed me,
I was going to say that was about 60 pounds ago. I lost that belly's gone because my throat got so sore I couldn't eat for the last couple months. But I'm actually glad for it. You know?
Yeah, it's a good, healthy change. I didn't see that necessarily, but now that you mention it, let me see what else do we have here. So I've got another video This looks like just something from the hospital. So let me just show a quick clip of the hospital inside.
Radiation room.
Okay. And let me see. I've got pictures too. So I'll go through the pictures. They're going to show up on top of us, but maybe you could tell us what we're seeing in the pictures.
Oh, that's just the view of the place. They take a photo. They do a CT scan of your throat, and they make a plastic mask in that room. That mask that you saw him taking off of my face, that's it's called a thermoplastic mask, where they actually heat up the plastic and they melt it to form to your face.
Okay.
So
that it kind of protects you and only opens up that one spot.
Yeah, that is the lobby of the brand new cancer center in La Paz. You can see that it's everything is just spot clean. The floors are beautiful. Everything's new in there. So
yeah, and I have not been to the hospital that you went to. So what was the name of the hospital? Do you remember?
Oh,
Salvatierra, something like that.
Something Oncologia. It's right next to the other hospital. It's like a block away from the other hospital, the Salvatierra Hospital, I think.
Oh, okay. Yep. So there's kind of the Feet of Paz Hospital, which I've been to, and I plan on making a video about. I'm actually cross-referencing what I got from a dermatologist down in Mexico. And when in about a month or so, I've got an appointment with a dermatologist here. So I'm going to cross-reference and see if they agree. And then I'll make that video. But so this is the second hospital in La Paz. So the hospitals in La Paz are wonderful. Let's go a couple more videos or a couple more pictures.
Oh, that is in Cabo San Lucas, or it's at that H+ hospital between Cabo and San Jose del Cabo. That is a private room for chemotherapy. And you get that picture doesn't show that I have a flat screen on the wall. I'm watching Breaking Bad all day. My wife has a leather couch that she's laying on. So it's not like when you're in an American chemo center, you've got like 10 chairs lined up in a row and people all sitting next to each other and in a big shared space. This is like a personal private room. And I felt fairly luxurious, compared to some of the scenes you see from American chemo centers.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so we've got another one here of your throat.
You can just see where the little rings around my eyes. It just became like a bad sunburn after 3 weeks of radiation treatment. I just had a stripe from the bottom of my eyes down to you can see a line, very faint line across the bottom of my throat, which was where the radiation stopped. But
interesting. Yeah. So, and I think I've got one last picture here that you sent. Tell us about these guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, after my first round of chemo and I got an MRI, the doctors were amazed at how my tumor was gone. And that is turkey tail mushrooms and reishi powder, which I learned about watching this Netflix documentary called Fantastic Fungi. Turkey tail is commonly used for treatment of cancers, and especially the form of cancer that I had. So I was taking turkey tail supplements in a milkshake every day. And plus, milkshakes were the only thing I could really drink anyway after a certain amount of time. But even during chemo, I was doing those. Those actually come from your neck of the woods up there in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. Yep. You got a lot of cool mushroom companies up there. But I do really believe in the medicinal power of mushrooms and especially the turkey tails when it comes to cancer treatment and things like that.
Nice. So, thank you for sharing that. So let's, as we come we're wrapping up towards the end of the video, I want to talk about the money, because people are definitely curious about what this cost. And Yeah, and if you have references to the United States costs, I'm not sure if you have those, but yeah, let's lay it out for us.
Well, in the United States, my chemo treatments would have cost between $10,000 and $30,000 each.
Wow.
And that's for getting hooked up to the chemo machine for the day.
Mhm.
And like I said, sitting in a long row of those chairs in a big room full of other cancer patients. Mine in Mexico for the private room and everything, $1,600 per day.
Wow.
And so it was worth the plane ticket. It was worth, we stayed at a really nice hotel in downtown San Jose del Cabo, the El Encanto Inn.
Oh, I know that one. Yes, I love that.
Yeah, that's my favorite hotel in San Jose. Not to mention, you've got all the wonderful restaurants right outside your front door.
Yes.
So it was, it was worth it. The whole chemo treatment was, under $5,000, including the hotel stays and meals at lovely restaurants and everything. As far as the radiation treatment, the radiation plan my doctor came up with, I went to do an in-house doctor visit, and her fee was $50. And she took the time to do that radiation plan for that $50.
And what did you say it was in the U.S.? I can't remember.
70,000. It
Wow.
blew me away. It blew me away. So, yeah.
And then the treatment, the radiation treatments.
Those were, it's in my video, but I think they're about $230 per treatment. The grand total came to about a little over $7,000. And then the doctor had her own fee for me. It was just to get her personal treatment, which was about $1,700 or around 35,000 pesos, which was, and she wanted that was a cash, payout.
Yeah.
But, so that was under $10,000 for the entire 8 weeks of radiation. And then like I said, those Airbnbs cost me between the last week I splurged and paid $50 a week for the Airbnb.
$50 a week or a night?
Oh, a night. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But still,
the first few weeks I was paying $30 a night.
Yeah.
And I thought, I got a lot of leftover expendable money. I'm going to get a really nice place for my last 2 weeks in La Paz. So,
but that's, $50 a night for a really nice place in a downtown city in a warm location.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen in the United States. So it makes it worth it. And
the beautiful sunsets every night. The other thing I didn't mention about the cancer treatment in La Paz was you're separating yourself from the environment in which you live. Like here in Denver, I have the same things I deal with every day, bills and updating my websites and all the work stuff and the stress things. Getting out of that environment and going to a place that felt like a paradise and a beautiful vacation, I think that was a major part of the healing process. So, and I treated the last few weeks of La Paz like I was on vacation. I did all the swim with the sea lions things and the going out to Espiritu Santo Island and, going out to Tecolote Beach and, and enjoying all the stuff that tourists enjoy there. And I had 2 solid friend groups by the time I left there after 2 months. I lived in Denver for a decade and I don't have as many friends as I have in La Paz.
Yeah, I say the same thing, is that I have closer friends in La Paz than I do here in Portland, where I've lived for 15 years. So it's
Yeah.
just harder to make friends when you're an adult, but when you go to another country, it all of a sudden becomes easy. So
I know, like I compare it to like when I was 5 back in the 70s, being on the playground with other kids. You
yeah.
walk up to another kid and you're like, "Hey, do you want to be friends? Do you want to play with me?"
Uh-huh.
Sure, yeah, let's play. That's how it feels like in La Paz when you meet,
That's a
people
great
of our
comparison.
age group. It just felt like you could walk up to people and make friends. And
That's so true. I love the playground analogy. That is great.
yeah,
So, yeah, is there anything that we're missing here about your story? Because you're back in Denver now, or
yeah.
Colorado. Are you coming back?
Well,
Are you planning a trip back to Mexico?
yeah, there's a huge party at the end of October.
Yeah.
A lot of your Canadian friends will be there. And Captain Wayne, the guy that does the music at Estrella,
Uh-huh.
he has this big party that he invited me to, and he basically rents out the whole joint
Mhm.
for his birthday.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, and I look forward to running into the friends that I met through you
Mhm.
and the Club Cruceros people as well.
Yes.
So, also at the end of August, I have to go for a PET scan to check on the progress of the cancer and make sure it's gone.
Mhm.
That occurs in Tecate, Mexico,
Oh,
which is about an hour drive away from San Diego, I believe. It's
yes.
just east
Just
of
across the border.
yeah. So I have to go to Tecate in August for a
Okay.
weekend.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I can't imagine what a PET scan would cost in the United States.
Uh, I know that my uncle, who's getting one in Missouri, said he paid $2,800 for one over the counter.
Uh-huh.
So that's in Missouri. I imagine in the urban areas where we live, you could
Yeah.
probably double that pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, before we wrap, I just want to say, this is very common for Americans to pay out of pocket for medical care in Mexico because it is so affordable. Some Americans will have kind of like a catastrophic plan where if something really bad happens, if something is, over $50,000 or $100,000, that their insurance kicks in. So it's like a high deductible plan, I think is what it's called. So there are some options out there, but for the most part, just going to the doctor for simple things could be just as little as a few dollars. Like, I mentioned earlier, if you have the flu and you need to go to the doctor, that's the pharmacy down the street. It's a few dollars. And this is kind of the bigger stuff that people typically just pay out of pocket for because, it is reasonably affordable compared to what you would pay for insurance otherwise in the United States. But then maybe having insurance for that really high end stuff. My wife and I are lucky enough that our insurance through her work covers us in Mexico. However, we've never needed to use it. I've gone to a specialist dermatologist and had x-rays and I don't know, some other stuff done. And it was so cheap that it wasn't worth messing with insurance. So, yeah, it's an interesting, I think it isn't not necessarily how inexpensive it is in Mexico, but maybe how incredibly expensive it is in the United States. That's maybe driving this more than anything.
Yeah, and one other comment is Americans have this movie version of what they think Mexico is. And they think if they go to the doctor in Mexico, they're going to be, in some chicken coop with, animals walking around.
Dirt floors.
Dirt floors. It's not like that at all. You've shown the videos of the state of the art equipment and the doctors and the personalized healthcare. My doctor, she texted me like 3 days ago, Matt, how are you doing? And are you taking care of yourself? Are you trying to eat 5 times a day? That to me is something you'll never get from an American doctor. You'll get like, this is Dr. So-and-so's office. He would like to schedule an appointment for you to come in and, 10 days to check up on you. It's,
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
they
not.
are very patient centered, and they're not on that same time clock of like 10-minute appointments. It's such a different system. It's
Yeah.
probably like a system that we might have had 50 years ago with today's technology. So,
And where else are you going to get a doctor that sends you smiley face emojis?
yep, exactly. Oh, well, that's
Uh,
wonderful. That's a great note to end on. So thank you so much, Matthew. And thank you for watching this. I am going to have a link down to Matthew's channel. Let's see here. I think I've got a image of it. Let's see here. There it is. So you can see a couple of his videos up there
yeah.
in the upper left.
A lot of those videos are just me clowning around back in
Yep.
the old days. but
Yeah, so I will have a link to his channel down below, and you can use that to get in touch with him if you have some questions you'd like to check with him on. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all in another video, and let me know down in the comments what you thought of this one or other things that you'd like to know about life in Mexico for Americans, and ideally Americans before they retire, because it's never too early to move to Mexico.
amen.